Don't believe me. Don't believe me. A belief is just a thought that you think a lot, right? So much of the challenges and difficulties that I faced in my life in the past have been because I believed things that weren't true, things that that people told me, from relationships to the church to family, and what I have learned is that knowledge is more important than belief. So don't believe me. Don't believe anything that any spiritual teacher tells you. Verify for yourself, right? Do your research. Know that knowledge is more important than belief. So when you are involved in, I was going to say religion, but I mean Christianity more specifically. Christianity really relies a lot on belief, which they just want you to trust and believe, and everything is going to be okay. But when you're trusting and believing things that aren't true, you're the one that suffers. So my first point here today is to don't believe me. And who am I? My name is Reverend Evelyn. I am an ordained minister of spiritual consciousness. I am a licensed prayer practitioner, and I am here for your spiritual liberation. I am here to encourage you to study, to show yourself approved, to instead of believing everything you hear, to verify it for yourself. Because we know that knowledge comes from evidence, knowledge comes from experience. So I am someone, I no longer identify myself as a Christian, which is going to sound weird when I say I still love Christ consciousness. I still love the Bible, even though I understand that the Bible is not from God, and it is not, it is a beautiful anthology collection of important stories, but it is not the inerrant word of God. That is what I know. That's not a belief. That is what I know. And what I would encourage you is to do research and to find out and to know for yourself that we do not have any of the original texts from what's called the compilation right now that's called the Holy Bible. We don't have any of the original texts. We don't have copies of the copies. We don't have copies of the copies of the copies. A lot of the stories that are in the Bible are stories that have been retold for thousands of years before biblical times. So knowledge comes from evidence. Knowledge comes from experience. Belief is just a thought you think a lot. So your beliefs aren't true just because you believe them. Your beliefs are something that you grew up with, something that you've been trained into. And so, I always encourage people to interrogate their beliefs and really be sure that what you're believing is true and that what you're believing is supporting what you want to do in your life, what you want to become. So my second point is trust but verify. So it's okay to trust people, right? It's okay to trust your parents. Your parents probably have your best interest at heart, but sometimes our parents teach us things that they just believe, that they don't necessarily know to be true. And so I always encourage people to do your own research. Ask questions, right? And then reflect on the answers that you receive. Were those answers satisfactory? I know that when I was growing up, I was a very curious child. I asked all kinds of questions, especially when it came to, because I was raised in a Christian home. We attended church. We attended Sunday school on Saturday at our church. And I always had questions. And I was always discouraged from asking questions. They would say, stop asking questions. Just just believe what you're being told. Trust and believe what you're being told, and stop asking questions. Now, to me, as a kid, that didn't seem to make sense. Like, if you are holding yourself out to be an adult with knowledge, I am a child who has questions. Why are you telling me not to ask questions, and why are you not answering my questions? So I always was a little put off by the adults in my life being unwilling to answer the questions that I asked, which, after now having attended seminary, I was asking some kind of tough theological questions, when I was a kid. So, adults, I shouldn't say all adults, some adults don't like kids to ask them questions that they don't know the answer to, because most people do not want to admit that they don't know something, and especially to a child. So what I learned as a child, because I was naturally compliant, was that, okay, so I'm making the big people around me uncomfortable, so I'm going to stop asking questions. Instead of just stop asking questions and do my own research, I just stopped questioning. And one of my mentors, I want to insert this here. One of my mentors, Reverend Valerie Love, she is doing a series right now where she's reading through the Bible every day at 7 a.m. She's reading the Bible, and on her YouTube channel. So I would encourage you to go and look up Valerie Love and catch her videos at 7 a.m. Eastern every day. She started yesterday, and she's going to be reading the Bible. So in the beginning of the video, she's reading a couple of chapters, and then she'll have commentary on it. She's the author of a book I think it's called The Real God Is Not in the Bible. So that is if this kind of thinking resonates with you, I highly recommend that you go and check out Reverend Valerie Love, because she has done some incredible research about the Bible. And so finally, the last thing that I'll say is, I was just going to say, be impeccable with your word, because that's the first of the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. But I'm going to share all 4 of the 4 agreements, because you can't just isolate one of them, because they're so important. This is a beautiful book, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I studied this book when I was in practitioner training, and then again we studied it when I was in seminary. So the 4 agreements I have them written down here because I don't have them safely memorized in my brain. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best. And so those are sort of the 4, I'm going to say 4 important pillars in my ministry and in my sort of spiritual liberation journey. Is that in the beginning, when I said, don't believe me and don't believe spiritual teachers, in other words, don't just take a person's word for something, because I often, that's called gossip, right? If you hear somebody say something and you pass it along and tell it to somebody else without being 100% sure that it's true, but so-and-so told me and I trust them, it's still gossip, right? So don't believe me, and don't believe anything that you hear unless you, take the time to do the research, verify it to your satisfaction, and then trust but verify. So don't go around then doubting everything everyone says. And not everyone is out. Not everyone is just lying to you, right? But you want to, when you're on a spiritual journey and you're pursuing the truth, then you do your own research. You ask questions and you reflect on the answers that you receive. And finally, for me, I follow the 4 agreements, which is be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best. So, so I am just enjoying this beautiful day here. I am visiting with family in Arizona for a few weeks, and I am just loving this beautiful sunshine. I live in New Jersey, and I was just thinking, like, how often do I get the beautiful chance to be in early January outdoors in the sunshine in 70 degree weather. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for your presence here, for hanging out with me today. And my name is Reverend Evelyn. I am a minister of spiritual consciousness, prayer practitioner. Great to have you here, and I'll see you next time. Peace.